Alright, so I know this episode review is really late, but let me explain. I have a new job now, and it's really busting my ass. I mean, I barely get any hours to myself, so yeah, but I'm going to do at least all the reviews of episodes of shows I'm currently watching all in one sitting, so prepare to see a lot of episode reviews coming out, like, simultaneously. So, kick things off, let's talk about The Flash, The Flash, Episode 2. Now, this episode more or less focuses more on Barry learning to get the ropes on being, well, The Flash. And in this episode, we have more about the, it deals more or less the fallout and him with his relationship with Joe West, Iris's father, and pretty much his legal guardian. And in here, we more or less have a new villain as well. Actually, villains, I guess you could say. We have Multiplex. Yeah, Multiplex from the Suicide Squad. And the main thing is with this episode is that it's more like... Here's the thing. This episode doesn't really focus on the villain. I mean, we do get a good hero-villain fight. Actually, a really good one. I mean, I thought... It's not like Smallville bad, but it's good enough to be considered a good fight. But the thing is that you don't really get to see much of the villain of Multiplex in here. You don't really get to see much of him. He's not the biggest threat. I think the main thing what they wanted to do was have a superpowered threat that could go against him, but wanted to focus on Barry Allen himself, who is still new at this. He's only been doing this for apparently a few weeks, and he's only been doing small stuff, stopping bank robbers, saving people from burning buildings, shit like that. And Joe is very against this. He's like, look, you can outrun, you're fast, but you're not invincible. And he's also pretty shaken up about the fact that, he's also really shaken up by, people living among people who have powers now. It really screws, and when you think about it, yeah, this world hasn't even really gotten to the whole powers thing yet. They haven't really, this world hasn't been broken up. I mean, technically, the Flash is the first superpowered hero of this universe. They don't have Superman or Wonder Woman or something like that. They don't have that. So the Flash is technically the first the first real superpowered being. And that's really messing with Joe's head. That's really messing with his head. And the fact that he knows the guy's identity and someone that he helped raise is really messing him up even more. So when you take that into account, you really kind of sympathize with Joe. You really do. Of the whole, you can't do this, I helped raise you, and, just because you're fast does not make you invincible. Whereas Barry's like, look, I can use this power for good, and I can save people. So we also get another thing about the Flash's anatomy throughout this story, is that the Flash Barry starts having dizzy spells throughout the entire time. And it's a simple, yet it makes sense. It's a simple answer. The Flash is running so fast that he needs to eat a lot, to keep his metabolism going. That makes sense. Scientifically speaking, when you run, you burn off a lot of calories, so you need to eat. You would imagine you would have to eat a lot. It's kind of like with athletes. You know how much they eat? A shit ton. So imagine if you could run, in just, run a mile in just 4 seconds, or even quicker than that. Imagine how much energy you're burning on the inside out. A lot. So you got to keep that in mind. And again, that makes sense, because they haven't really done that. They bring that up in the Flash comics now and again, but it does, I'm surprised they brought that up at all and made that an actual science. So, good on them for doing something like that. Anyway, so continuing onward, we have Barry and Iris going to an award ceremony for Simon Stagg. Yeah, we get a I guess you could say I don't know if you could. Yeah, he's a Batman villain, but I wouldn't call him like a Batman rogue. He's more like a business rival. He's like the poor man's Lex Luthor, and I think that's what they wanted to do with him until something happened in this episode, and I was like, huh. But yeah, Simon Stagg, who's obviously bad. I think I just rhymed. and he's more or less given an award, and SpaghettiOs, guy, a group of armed thieves break in. Barry tries to go after them, has another dizzy spell, and that's when we find out, how, why he's kind of having dizzy spells again, because he's not eating enough. And we also get what I hope to be or at least a prototype to the Cosmic Treadmill. Oh my god, I hope that becomes the Cosmic Treadmill. I really do. We also have a little more on Caitlin, who's going to be Killer Frost's backstory, and her fiancé Ronnie, who we all know is probably more than likely Ronnie Raymond, the Firestorm. Well, not the Firestorm, just Firestorm. Look at this douche. If you watch the Robot Chicken special, you'll know what I'm talking about. When they bring in Firestorm, I will be making that joke. When the Firestorm, when Firestorm just comes in, I'll be like, "Look at this douche." I love the DC Comics Robot Chicken special. But enough about that. So she's obviously pissed off, and we also have Barry kind of doubting himself about this, but he still wants to do good. But Joe's like, dude, look, you don't have police training. You're not. Just because you have powers does not automatically make you a superhero. And at the same time, Barry's kind of going through a lot of shit because he is obviously angry about not being able to tell Iris how he feels. And you can kind of sympathize with him. And we also have Iris, who now wants to find out who is the Red Streak. Thank God that is not going to be the name for only. It's only going to be his name for a few things until he finally reveals himself. There will be an episode called "The Flash is Born," and they do call him the Flash in this episode. A rather interesting name in a way. Excuse me, way. So we do have flashbacks of Barry in his early life living with Joe, and he wants to go see his father. Barry wants to see his father, and he eventually discovers that, no, it's not Joe keeping away from his father, it's his father who doesn't want him to see him in prison. He knows Joe's trying to do the best thing for him, and Joe, for the most part, is trying, he wants to help Barry. He really does want to help Barry more than anything. And you do feel sorry for Joe, because he does treat Barry. He treated Barry like a son. So he's just so imagine watching a kid you raised and you treat like a son. Imagine how you feel when he's running into danger against powers that you don't even fully understand. So Barry later on battles Danton Black, aka Multiplex, while trying to save Simon Stagg, and he, for the lack of a better word, gets his ass kicked. And this is where we find out more about Danton's powers. Apparently, he was in charge. He was the one behind. He was in charge of cloning organs. But however, Stagg ruined his research. But during the particle excelsior breakdown, it gave him the ability to create multiple clones of himself. And it's kind of cool how they do the effect of him pulling off. How he just kind of pulls himself apart to create another clone. And I really like how that kind of ties into his research. But here's the thing. They kind of make Multiplex, who I haven't really read in the comics, but I know he's more of a jokey, kind of like has a Deadpool personality in his, and he's mostly in the Suicide Squad. But in here, he's more like Mr. Freeze, where we find out his backstory that apparently his wife was dying of a heart disease, and he's trying to grow her a heart through cloning, but Simon stole all of his research and then fired him, then got rich while he buried his wife. So yeah, they went the Mr. Freeze route. That's fair enough. So Barry, after getting his ass kicked, quits, but then gets a pep talk from Joe, goes out there to whoop some ass, and it's a pretty cool fight, but yeah, and Barry, tries to save Metroplex, but he kills himself, and Barry's obvious. And for a moment, I'm like, you couldn't have, when he was falling, you couldn't have, run down you couldn't have run down the building, you couldn't, or at least run through the floors to get to the floor and catch him, or something. I don't know. You are the fastest man alive. I mean, you could have done more, Barry, rather than just watch. You could have, before he hit the ground, you could have caught him and then ran him to jail, and then, Amanda Waller would have put him on the Suicide Squad, or some shit. Or maybe they could say, he comes back, and what really happened was that Barry, he made a clone to escape, and he then faked his death, and now, or at least one of his clones becomes sentient. You could say, yeah, one of his clones becomes sentient and becomes the new Multiplex, and is then brought into Suicide Squad. Because again, he's a member of Suicide Squad, so yeah. He was in the pre-52 and New 52 lineup of Suicide Squad. So there's more. He's more than likely going to show. He might show up. I would be surprised if he showed up. So anyway. So yeah, long story short, Iris is now investigating the Red Streak. Again, so glad they're not keep running with that name, pun intended. And Joe and Barry reconnect over with a pizza. It's a delightful moment. And then we get this. Dr. Wells shows up at Stagg Industries late at night, and Simon Stagg is talking about how, he wants to control the power of the Flash. He wants to control all the powers of this living, godlike being. And I was thinking to myself, oh, they're going to make Simon Stagg Barry's Lex Luthor. That's going to be really cool. Simon Stagg's an evil philanthropist, and he's loved by the people. So yeah, they could make Simon Stagg, even though he's more associated with Batman, a interesting foil for Barry. Yeah, I'd be for him to be like Barry's Lex Luthor. But then something else happens. Dr. Wells stands up out of his chair and kills Simon and says, the Flash must be protected. And I'm starting to go with one of the theories that one of my someone left a YouTube comment saying that he may be Hunter Zolomon, Professor Zoom, or I guess you could say the original Reverse Flash. So could Dr. Wells really be Hunter Zolomon? That's a possibility. And Eddie Thwayne might be just a fluke. He might be a red herring, like how Tommy Merlin was. Then we found out, oh, it's his dad. All in all, really love this episode. Really interested to see next week's episode. That's going to be an interesting story to play with. I'm still, excited for the Captain Cold episode, which should be coming up around, it's going to be the 4th episode. Yeah, it's going to be the 4th episode, so yeah, one more episode, and then I think, yeah, pretty much we're getting Captain Cold. Yay! And it's going to be an episode written by Jeff Johns. Yay! And one more, yay! For no damn good reason. There was some other bits, but really, it's not, there's not a lot to really talk about in here other than I think this was really cool. I was kind of interested to see Simon Stagg be, I was kind of liking the idea of Stagg being Barry's Luthor, but then, they killed him, and a lot of people are saying maybe he's Hunter Zolomon. Some people have been saying, my good friend Ziploc Gory even theorized that maybe he's Metron. Maybe he's Metron from the New Gods. Metron, for lack of a better word, is kind of like he's DC's equivalent to Uatu the Watcher. He might be that, he may be that, but I'm kind of banking on more like he may be Hunter Zolomon. He might be really Hunter Zolomon or the real Ebon Thwayne, and really because we did get set photos of Reverse Flash. Also, one of those said set photos was incredibly hilarious, mind you. There's an hilarious pose that he has. You'll know, if you go look for it, you'll know it when you see it. But let me say this, because I want to talk about the Reverse Flash costume they had. It looks so cool from those set photos. It looks so cool for the Reverse Flash costume. I know it has a little more darker, it's a lot more darker around the pants and arms, and it has a little more body armor feel. But I kind of like where they're going. It's a more militarized version of Barry's costume. I really like it. Anyway, so what did you guys think of this episode? Did you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? Comment below, let me know, and stay tuned for the other for some more episode reviews, because good lord, we've got a lot.